in the main, which is normally pretty unusual.
Flusterstorm, 3 Flusterstorm in the main is fine. So what he's done is the typical builds will run like 4 Forcible and maybe some second form of counterspell. What he's done is he's up to 3 Flusterstorm, 1 Pact of Negation. He's put a Snap in, and he's upped his land count by 1. So that's his way, you know. It's actually, the bigger thing is he's running 4 Ponder, 4 Brainstorm, and 4 Preordain on top of that. That's very high in the 1 mana cantrips. Really, that's gonna be, you know, a lot weaker than Candelabra will be here. But they're seeing for a big availability issue with Candelabra. The deck's still playable without.
John Hiner had a bit of a judge issue the last round.
Yeah, he actually defeated, in the end, he defeated Nick Marriott, Nick Marriott the previous round on camera we'd seen defeat Mono Black. So yeah, so we'll
John had accidentally, when he had cast Time Spiral, shuffled his lands into his deck.
Okay, that's very okay.
It's a little odd, but what then happened was he had 5 lands in play before he did that.
Okay.
And his opponent surmised that he did not have 5 lands in play. And that was, they had to investigate to find out how many lands he had in play and what had happened prior to the turn. And it turned out he did have 5 lands in play.
Yeah, in that situation, it's still a recoverable game state, so...
Yeah, I mean, you're shuffling, your library's random, so...
Yeah. I did have an opponent one time accidentally shuffle their hand into their library. Josh Snider's going to 5 here. That's one you can't recover from. If you shuffle your hand into your library on accident, they will rule that you just don't get a hand.
Oof.
It's basically giving you a game loss.
Yeah.
So there are some that are unrecoverable. Yeah, Josh Snider going to 5. He can still do damage on the back of Thalia. There is not a bounce spell in the main deck for John Hiner. He, of course, plays a wish board. He has 3 Cunning Wishes. He has 1 snap. He has a snap in the main deck, which that should be more than enough. His sideboard with 3 Surgical Extractions. I'm not sure what those are for, but you can wish into them. It's fine. For the most part, it's a wish board. His wish targets, he has a turnabout and pretty much the standard. Brain Freeze, Turnabout, Bloom Sun Zenith, Meditate, Pact of Negation, Rebuild. Those are all pretty standard. 5 cards for Josh Snider.
As the Don't Daze Me Bro sleeves.
Yeah. Daze actually very strong against High Tide. You daze the High Tide. Enough times they will have to try to go off again next turn. It depends on how many lands they're doing it on. The thing about Josh Hiner here is that if he doesn't see a Thalia, he will just wait. He will wait until his hand is completely and brutally amazing, and then just go off with a lot of ease. All right, turn 1 played by Snider. Zenithing for a Dryad Arbor. That's fine. I do not like that play at all.
I do not like that play at all.
Green Sun Zenith doesn't. Yeah, I mean. Okay, Hiner goes to 19. Just let him have his land. There's only 3 cards in his deck that matter, and they're named Thalia.
You see people force fulfill these turn 1 mana guys way too often. I mean, it's basically like saying to your opponent, like, oh, you just pay 1 green mana to him to Turok me and deal me 1 damage.
Yeah, so John will play Island. Yeah, he doesn't. The Preordain would have been great. He doesn't need that. I mean, there's no second land off Snider, which is like a fair thing just to notice that Snider's probably land screwed. He is on 5.
And then he just turn 1 Brainstorms.
He end-step Brainstorms.
I don't like that either.
Well, no, your opponent is stumbling so hard that you should just draw a card and be really greedy with the Brainstorm. John doesn't need to be a lean combo machine. He can just, that rhymes, sorry. He doesn't need to be lean at all. He can just make land drops, sit here, and just build his hand to be amazing. And yeah, counting the land, all right, second land, Pride Mage for Snider. No Candelabras in Hiner's deck, so that's just going to be a 3/3, but it's a clock. It means Hiner has to, take some time in comboing. Third land, no reason for Hiner to do anything yet. He'll pass the turn. And Hiner, the thing is, if Hiner had the Force of Will here, he could just keep waiting. He could keep waiting
the only thing you need to force ever here is Thalia.
Yes. Post-board, you need to force Green Sun Zeniths because of Gaddock Teague. Umazawa's Jite. Yeah, that's fine. You do not need to contemplate about forcing Jite. Alright, cool. End step, he's going to...
Intuition.
Or maybe Meditate. Okay, well, Intuition. It's like your easiest... It's your only tutor that actually finds Time Spiral in the deck, so you usually end up Intuition for Spirals. If he has a Spiral, he'll go for High Tides. Okay, looks like he has a Spiral. It's interesting, I play the other art of High Tide when I play High Tide. Very, very big difference.
The fishies?
I like the one with the fish on it. That's, yeah, so.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think kind of a misplay right there.
Yeah, definitely a misplay. The fishies. Come on. If you get to play a card with an animal on it, always better than playing a card that does not
that
have
is
an animal on it.
okay, it's going to crack fetch land.
Yep,
And one of the
cracking
things
a
here
polluted
is
delta.
Hiner probably has the ability to go off right now, but he
Yes.
shouldn't. So for those combo players, because
Yeah, I mean,
no,
there's
I mean-
here there's a chance he could fizzle, whereas
well, here's the chance he could. I
Like,
mean,
waits
if he
2
has a
turns,
force
he
of will,
can't.
there's no way he should. And he's gonna go for it. I think this is a pretty common mistake. Like, oh, I have it. I gotta do it. Like, the only thing you're worried about is Thalia. He has a merchant scroll. I'd merchant scroll for a force of will and say go, and then I would draw cards for 3 turns. Because as long as I have force of will for Thalia, I don't care, you know? I mean, as it is, Hiner almost certainly to get it here. Two tides
4
in
blue
play.
in pool now.
Yeah, 2 tides in play, 3 blue in the pool. 4 blue. No, you're right, 4 blue. He's going to cast Merchant Scroll, going down to 2 blue. He's going to scroll for Turnabout.
Yep.
Almost certainly. It's like, so yeah, building up some storm. His 3rd storm spell will scroll for Turnabout, and then Turnabout into Spiral. Yep. So
Yep.
Turnabout here, 2 blue floating. He will get 1 blue floating with a Turnabout.
Yep, tap that. 1 blue floating. Goes up to 13 blue after tapping those 4
I
again.
just, I think I want to stress the point. I mean, okay, this hand is pretty solid. Maybe you don't need to wait, but there's no reason not to. If you have the Spiral. So, okay, it's gonna tap out, so that will put him up to 13 blue mana.
Or he's leaving 1 island untapped.
I think he's tapping them all. He's just kind of
Okay.
throwing them all over. His opponent's gonna be like, please,
So,
be,
okay,
please be
13.
more deliberate. Yep, 13, and that's actually the 5th spell of the turn. He's gonna cast Spiral. So 5 spells cast so far. Spiral with 7 mana over the top.
Yep, so he's got 7 floating right now.
Remember, Time Spiral exiles itself. Both players shuffle graveyards into their library and then draw a hand of 7 cards. Because he has all these extra search effects and not the 4 candelabras, he's probably even more likely to go off here. The kind of hands which kill you, and it happens about 5% of the time, are ones which look like land, force of will, ponder, preordain. Like, that hand's pretty scary. You might fizzle on that.
Yeah, I mean, the Ponder and Preordain, you always cast Preordain first, obviously, there.
Yes, because you're looking for like a meditate or another spiral just to try again. Okay, so 7 mana, he's going to tap, and I don't like actually tapping all the lands.
You don't need to. You
float
can always
mana.
draw a High Tide.
Right, you want to tap
So-
you want to tap actual lands at the last possible moment when doing this.
So this puts him up to 19 mana in pool.
He's already at 7. I believe he's tapping again up to 19. Which I don't really understand him doing that before drawing his hand. I'm not sure what's happening. We'll figure it out. It's not going to matter, most likely.
It's definitely not going to matter.
He'll probably draw a hand that's just wins. The camping off aspect of High Tide, so sometimes you're asking, like, how do you shortcut? I know there's a lot of controversy when Mike Flores tried to shortcut recently too much. So here's how I will shortcut with High Tide for people who like want to shortcut stuff at home. What I do is when I draw my hand, when it's really live, I'll draw my hand, lay it face up on the table, and and then I'll look at my opponent, and they can look at my hand, and they can concede if they like to, and then I'll just continue to combo with my hand face up. If I believe it's completely, if I draw something like Force of Will, Pact of Negation, Meditate, Turnabout, High Tide, I'd be like, you can concede whenever you'd like. I'll just keep going until you want me to stop.
So John going up to 19 mana now.
He still doesn't have. We're like debating
They
about
haven't
the
drawn their
details of the
hands yet. You
resolution.
can't they've shuffled their hands back in. Just wait. Like, why does it matter? Like, this is like the easiest thing to solve ever. Just untap your lands and draw your 7
You can
cards.
solve
and then...
by scooping up Josh's cards. I don't know. No, he can fizzle. It's fair. But all right, maybe we have a.
Josh is, I think, fishing a little bit here. This is a judge ruling. He called a judge about his opponent tapping the lands for mana before they had drawn their cards, but after they had shuffled their things in. And yes, priority was never had there.
Yeah, that's just illegal. You actually, according to the wording of Time Spiral, you must draw your hand before you can untap your lands. It says first you draw the cards, then untap up to 6 lands.
Yep.
So what you could say is, no, John, your spell's still resolving, you can't untap your lands.
So
High Tide, Time Spiral. So this is fine. I don't think John has done anything remotely close to a
does
legal
not
procedure
get a warning
here.
Yeah. That would be ridiculous if he got a warning for that.
Yes. Okay. Pretty much if John's hand has a High Tide in it, this game's, or a Meditate in it, this game's over.
Yeah.
For those of you unaware, what John will eventually do is Brain Freeze his opponent, or maybe Blue Sun Zenith him. I usually Brain Freeze them.
It's taking a while.
Yeah, I don't know. There's some
This
sort of
is-
judge. John had a pretty intricate judge call last round, and I almost feel like his opponent knows that John has some warnings going on, which I think is unnecessary. The one thing I did notice is that John is kind of sloppy at comboing last time.
Yes.
Which, don't do that when you're playing a combo deck. Rehearse your moves a little bit, if at all possible. Okay, John draws a Merchant Scroll. Like,
wins.
to be honest, yeah, the game's he has it. It's 2 High Tides resolved, 7 mana. Merchant Scroll wins, but you know. So this is like the situation where I would show my hand to my opponent and just start comboing face up. Like, all right, you can make me play this as much or as little as you want. John still has the ability to Merchant Scroll into Intuition into Time Spiral right now, so he can like have a second shot even if the rest of his hand does nothing. John drops to 5, 6th spell of the turn.
6 spell of the turn, down to
Yeah. Note
5 mana.
after he double
7 to 5.
spirals, that line's no longer open because there won't be 3 spirals left in his deck. Instead, he's getting Meditate.
That's completely reasonable.
Of course, it's great. Meditate's a great card.
I think that might even be what I would do.
It's fine. I mean, it depends what the rest of your hand looks like. If the
Yeah,
rest
I
of
don't
your
know
hand
what
is
his hand
very
is.
blank, it's oftentimes correct just to go chain to the spiral there.
And that's completely reasonable also.
All right, so he's going to Meditate, 7 spells, 2 mana, draw 3 cards. Josh get 4 cards. Sorry, cost 3, draw 4 cards. Josh will skip his non-existent next turn, or John says his next turn doesn't exist. So cards amazing when you're comboing out. John with 800 cards in his hand. It's kind of what I have a phrase. I refer to this as garbage time of the game. Oh, okay. He was okay. So the question is that John was asking if he could tap his mana in response to Time Spiral,
But Time
and his
Spiral has to
opponent thought
resolve
that he
before you
already
can-
had, but then he didn't. Okay, Preordain puts him down to 1 mana, 8th Storm. Top 2 cards, both bottom draw. Remember, lands are dead here, but there's, one turnabout's like a ritual for 100. All the cards are absurd when you're comboing off.
Yeah. Like once you're in this stage of the
Brainstorm, okay. 9 spells. No more mana left in the mana pool. John's gonna have to start tapping his lands. So,
game. Hey, tap all these lands, make 12 mana.
gonna ponder.
Does
I
he have
think
mana for that?
my man. I don't think so. I must be off with the mana count here. I don't think he has mana for that.
Because he had 7, then he went
7 into Scroll, into
Scroll,
Meditate,
Meditate,
into
into
Brainstorm,
2.
into Pawn, into Preordain. I think he's out. Should be off by 1. Doesn't actually. Joke is that it hardly matters. As long as he has 1 turnabout, he has approximately a zillion mana. But I mean, he should have the turnabout if we're not off here. I think I must have miscounted at some point here.
No.
Okay.
He's just using mana he doesn't have right now.
So we think he's at a 2 mana deficit.
Yep. Because he had 7 when he time spiraled, because he had 13 before he time spiraled.
Correct.
And
All right. Tapping for 12. Put some, I think, to 10. But I mean, the thing is that it doesn't really affect the outcome here. But yeah. He's gonna snap.
it doesn't affect the outcome of the game.
No, I think. Yeah, I think it's possible we miscounted. Either way, snap makes 100 mana.
Yeah. Snap
Competitors, partners for
Ponder.
round 1 have been posted.
a supercharged ritual that also bounces on its creature here.
Yeah, I mean, because he has the snap in his hand off there, so maybe he has to tap 1 mana, and like he should get a warning to be cleaner. That's all I could see. There's a turnabout in here.
Yeah, like it actually doesn't matter, but he really needs to be cleaner with this combo.
Yeah. Turnabout untaps his lands.
Yeah, if you're not comfortable, just
All right, yeah, he's going for turnabout on his lands. Second turnabout on his lands. Okay, yeah. He's going to go for Cunning Wish here. All right. I'm going to go for Cunning Wish. I think actually, yeah, the game's going to be paused here for a second, I believe.
Yeah, he did use mana that he did not have earlier. And you really just need to be cleaner with the High Tide deck.
It's a very powerful engine, and he's gonna get Brain Freeze. He's got a lethal Brain Freeze here, and then this thing's gonna be lethal. Yeah.
We can go explain the math if necessary. Yeah. All right, so he's casting a Time Spiral here. This is going to get a. Yeah, he's a little confused about what's going on now. But yeah, John, I think he has a lot of warnings earlier today. Once today, he accidentally shuffled his lands into his library with his Time Spiral. Then there was some discrepancy over the number of lands that he had in play. This match, we did just see him use mana that he did not have. He tapped an island for 1 mana, cast a High Tide, then tapped another island for 2 mana, cast a High Tide, leaving himself with 1 mana, then tapped another island for 3 blue mana, and then that left him with 4 mana. Then he tapped another one for 3 mana. So he had 13 mana available to him. Then he casts High Tide, and it put him down to 7 mana. And yeah, it's so okay. He forced his own Time Spiral while this was just happening. So that's just to build Storm. So at this point, he's already comboing out too much. And I mean, I understand that he was comboing out and winning anyway, but you really do have to be clean with these combo decks. You know, just because you are winning with the cards, you still have to functionally use them correctly to win the match. It's an awkward situation. I mean, you don't want somebody to get in trouble for this, but if you cannot technically maintain like a proper mode of play with the deck you're playing, you really High Tide is a deck that requires you, like, it also and Matthias plays this deck regularly. I have played the deck before. I was a math major. Matthias is a math teacher. It's not like the math is specifically difficult. It's just that you have to do a lot of it very often, and it's very important to be clear with it and to keep a paper trail. So it's going to be very necessary for John to show us the paper trail that he has for this situation right here. And if you're unable to present a paper trail here, then it's just too much. I'm actually a little bit confused why we put High Tide under the camera. It's a deck that it fishbowls to a certain extent. All right, so John is getting a little frustrated. Obviously, I mean, he's had last round he had some very odd judge rulings, and it's happening again. I feel like he is almost certainly tilting to a certain degree. Yeah, this is. I mean, we should cut back to me. I don't know. I feel bad. I feel like I'm like watching a car crash or something. Yeah, but I could talk about Magic. Excited. So I mean, maybe we could just talk about something else right now, because this is just a little bit of an awkward situation. So the upcoming PTQ season is Standard, and we just watched the Standard Open yesterday. Red Green Aggro ended up winning that, and Delver only put 1 spot to the top 8. This week there were a few articles on Star City, one specifically by Jerry that was on how to beat Delver. A lot of people probably read that article, and that probably helped people out a lot. Delver was the most played deck yesterday, and it still only put one person in the top 8. Red-Green did win the event, but a Frights player, Adam Boyd, he decided to go home and spend Easter with his family. So after splitting the top 4, he was able to go home. Now, the Frights deck was extremely well positioned in that top 4, and he almost certainly would have won the event. It's very, very hard for a red-green deck to stand up to Frights. So I mean, it's unfair of me to say he would have certainly won the event, but the same way, Frights was a huge favorite to win the event if he continued playing. I think Frights might actually be really well positioned right now. I have a few friends who have been playing it on Magic Online. You have a lot of options with your sideboard. You can, play some cards that, you can transform into like a Primeval Titan deck against control decks if you want to. You can play like a Lavamancer sideboard, like we saw Bill Lees do yesterday. The deck can take a lot of angles, and that's one of the things I like about it. It also just has access to the most powerful plays in the format. Turn 4 Elishnorn is something that you can't really do with most decks, but that deck has multiple paths to a turn 4 Elishnorn, and it's just really difficult to beat that in Standard. So, if you're looking for a PDQ deck, I know that I am looking for a PDQ deck, and that I'm going to be trying to play in some of these Magic Online PDQs in the coming weeks. But I think Frights might be a deck that you should take some time and look into and test, because it seems like that deck could do really well if red-green aggro picks up and becomes the deck of choice in the early PDQs. This judge ruling is still going on now. John Hiner did use mana that he did not have. So we kind of just have to wait and see what happens. Sorry that we're just sitting here with you guys. Now, other things, if you haven't read Brad Nelson's most recent premium column, he talks about all the different iterations of Delver, and he gives his opinion on what he thinks the strongest iteration of Delver is for the mirror, and what the strongest iterations of Delver are against other specific matchups. One of the true strengths of Delver is that when you're on the play and you draw well, you don't really have a bad matchup. So, I mean, that's a pretty big selling point, and that's one of the reasons why Fairies was so dominant for so long. There were cards that were good against Fairies, but if Fairies drew well and was on the play, it just didn't matter. You would win anyway. So, it's a huge selling point for the deck. I'm excited to see what's in this new set. I'm sure they're going to give us more things that will allow us to, combat the Delver menace, hopefully anyway. There's the Miracle 5 damage card, which was put onto the internet yesterday. I saw it tweeted by Mark Rosewater. In Legacy, with cards like Sensei's Divining Top or Brainstorm, you can obviously set it up pretty easily. In Standard, it seems like a very volatile thing that people will be able to just 5 you out of nowhere. So I'm excited to see how that card ends up playing into things, and to see whether or not it can make red, come back and be a force to be reckoned with again. Now, still in turn 4 here on game 1, less than 23 minutes left on the clock, so we've already used more than half the clock on this game, and we're only in turn 4. John has had a number of warnings now for problems in play, and he did use mana that he did not have, so we'd call the judge to get it straightened out.
I was like, yes, okay.
I mean, you really have to keep a paper trail when you're playing High Tide. You really have to be clear about your plays. There was no way for him to lose this game. He subtracted incorrectly. All right, so James Bennett, I believe he's an L2. He may be an L3. Is he an L3? Okay. James Bennett, high-level judge, is involved in clarifying things right now. everything he has been doing would have been legal, but he didn't tap his mana for his spells. And the thing is, he casts multiple sorceries without tapping the mana. So it's just, I mean, you really have to be clear, especially in a deck like this where it's so absolutely crucial that every single factor, storm, mana count, just all of these things are so important to whether or not you're going to win, and the deck does have the ability to fizzle. You need to be clear, and it's just, yeah, I mean, he cast multiple sorceries without mana in his mana pool, and didn't tap mana in between them. So that's a problem. Yeah. Again, sorry, we're just sitting here with very little going on, trying to keep you guys entertained just by my lonesome. All right, Josh was getting up. Maybe going to take a bathroom break. Do you want to come back to me? Or I feel bad that we're just... I can just talk about Magic. Hey, and welcome back. Matthias over there helping out the judge situation, explaining what we saw from the booth. We have a math paper trail here. So to recap what happened, he had 13 mana left in pool. He used Time Spiral. Afterward, he had 7 mana remaining in his pool. He used Merchant Scroll, got Meditate, cast that. 2 mana left in his pool. Cast Brainstorm, cast Ponder, cast Preordain, then cast Ponder, and that would have cost him 2 more mana than he had in his pool. He didn't tap mana in between. Multiple sorceries. It's just it's an unfortunate situation. He had you really need to be clean when you're playing a high tide deck. It's a deck that requires a lot of math, and again, paper trail is important. So let's talk about something more fun. All right, last weekend we saw Shahar Shenhar win his second Grand Prix in less than 6 months. He won his first one when he was only 17 years old, and he's 18 now, winning a second Grand Prix. That locks him up for gold, and now he's going to be at every Pro Tour for the 2012-2013 season, and that's a pretty impressive thing. This is a young kid. He is somebody who, now he's on the train, and we have to expect great things from him. I'm really looking forward to seeing if he's maybe like the next Paulo. Or I remember when Paulo first came out of the woodwork, he was considered some rogue deck player at a Pro Tour in Hawaii, where he played Ghost Dad and finished in the top 16 to secure himself a spot in the next Pro Tour. And at the time, this was a huge finish for him, a top 16. And now you look at Paulo and he top 8s half the events he plays in. But I mean, back then, he was the next big thing, and a lot of times you get next big things that don't really turn out to be such big things. But 2 Grand Prix in less than 6 months is pretty telling that we have a real deal happening. So right now, we have. Okay. All right, Matthias is gonna talk to you guys about Magic for a little bit. I will. I have to go talk to a judge for a second.
Yeah. So we have a little bit of, we're asking, what are the more difficult things with commentary? Sometimes when you see something happen on camera, that's a little bit of a procedural issue. One of the questions had to do with communication between the players. In the game, it's pretty clear that the high tide player does have a win, worried to tap his lands correctly. The question is whether or not he actually had the mana that he was playing for them to pay for those spells. So that's what the judges are working on right now. It's especially with a really intricate combo deck, it's really important to track the things that you actually have to track. There's a lot of moving pieces. It's a very powerful deck and very good, and I think he has all of the best intentions. You have to make sure that when you need a land, you actually are tapping for the lands. Okay, so we're gonna get a ruling here. I can imagine at some point. I don't think. I think we both agree that the Tide player has won that game. The question is whether he's actually tapping his islands for his spells.
Yeah, I mean it's odd because you have to be really clear when you're playing a combo deck, especially a combo deck like High Tide, where
Right.
things like Storm Count, things like your mana pool, all of those things are extremely important in the process of going off. And keeping a paper trail and being clear with your opponent about what you have in your pool and how many spells you've cast at all times is something that's extremely important. And when I've played combo decks like that in the past, I used to play old High Tide decks. You've played this version of High Tide. If you're clear, there's never a problem.
What I did is you have to just be very deliberate. I had made like note cards for myself to play at the GP. The problem with High Tide is there's 5 moving pieces essentially when you're comboing off. You need to keep track of number of High Tides resolved, number of blue mana in your mana pool, number of spells cast this turn, number of meditates you've cast for extra turns, and number of blue packs that have resolved. So there's 5 pieces. That's enough that like I think you need to use paper.
You need an abacus,
which is fine, but if you know that's right, I think you do need the paper for it.
And you do. And I think, my major issue with what just happened is, he cast multiple sorceries with no mana in his mana pool without tapping lands in between. And I understand that he had the mana to do it. And, it's a shame because the game should have clearly been won by him.
Yeah.
But you need to be clear, and clarity is important in these tournaments, even for the tournaments to be run properly and in a timely fashion.
In this situation,
this player has been responsible for multiple rounds going to over 15 minutes overtime because of judge rulings.
Right, so here's a question. If you're his opponent right now, what do you do in this situation? If say this...
I think I just say honestly what happened.
Yeah, I remember...
I would have called a judge immediately when a spell was cast without mana.
When I was first playing Elf combo, I had a very awkward situation in a top 4 of a PTQ where I ended up drawing an extra card off Regal Force because I had counted my range of Reyes. And I was being pretty deliberate, like, all right, I was about to draw 8 cards. It's like, you're about to draw 8 cards. I drew 8 cards. And then a spectator after I drew it was like, that's a white creature. And we both a judge call ensued, and I got a game loss for drawing extra cards. And I recall at the time my opponent just sat there and he was like, I feel like I was complicit in that. Like, yeah, I know it sucks. He's like, all right, I'm going to scoop game 2 to you. And I remember this is in a top 4 of a PTQ and thinking that is the most gentlemanly thing I've ever seen someone do.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah. I ended up winning game 3. And I was like, you're a class act. I don't know if... I'm not sure I would have done that in the same situation, but,
Yeah, and that is...
This was Rob Martin out of Fargo PTQ. Okay. So the ruling on this is unfortunate for John. He was given a game loss for game rule violation. He had 2 game rule violations last round, so that's a 3rd one, and the upgrade path on that is going to give the first game win to Joshua Snider. A really disheartening line for John Hiner.
Yeah. And now going into game 2 here, we have 14 minutes left.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. Okay. So Josh Snider up 1-0. John Hiner gets the chance to do, gets to be on the play. It'll be a little trickier. Joshua Snider will bring in a Gadok Teague, which he has Zeniths for in this matchup. The thing is that actually, were I to have to start down a game against, I'm High Tide, I am down a game against Maverick, I actually still feel like I am the odds-on favorite to win the match. I feel so strongly about the matchup.
Yes, I also feel like he's a favorite. The problem is that I do not think he has time to win the match.
Well, they probably are given a large extension. That was a fairly lengthy judge call, but
they
he's got to be
probably
quick.
do have a long extension, but in the same sense, John needs to slow down, in my opinion. He needs to... He cannot, you can play fast with High Tide, but if you play fast with High Tide, you need to be clear and fast.
Yeah, and that's my thing about clarity is the most important thing. When I said about my strategy of, after I feel like I've gotten a live spiral, I just play my hand face up. What I'm doing is I'm inviting my opponent to speed this up. I will continue for as long as you wish, but I will let you look at my hand to see,
just how dead you are.
I played a preacher match against Ben Stark, and what I actually did is after I spiraled, I laid out my hand. I just verbally said, cast this, burn some cantrips, go get brain freeze you. You want me to do it? And he was like, nope, that's okay. It's like, all right, cool. And I kept running plays like that. It was.
Yeah, and that's definitely a good thing to do.
And just to be fair, if I say that aloud, I am not under obligation to then execute the line I just did. So if say I do that and then realize my line was bad, I'm not giving myself a game loss or anything. So you're allowed, you're allowed to do that kind of shortcut. If you're another person, you're also allowed to hear that shortcut and say, do it. In theory, I could suggest a shortcut that's illegal and try to sneak one by you, though it's not really my style. I know other people will do that. So you can also make a combo player do their entire combo.
Yeah. There are some people who get sneaky in that way and try to steal games.
There's also, and I want to know what your thoughts about.
I don't appreciate that.
No. I want to know what your thoughts are on this. Say Josh was not going to concede, okay? At all. Doesn't believe in the concession, right? What is your opinion on John Hiner? So High Tide's a kind of deck. I could probably combo High Tide for 50 minutes if I just refused to win the game. Say you're in Josh's situation. Say we're playing, you're Maverick, I'm Spiral, and I'm like, I want you to, and you aren't conceding. What do you feel like me running the strategy of, I'm going to continue to combo until you concede, and if we get all the way to time, well, I got you 1-0. What is your opinion on that sort of strategy?
That's really sleazy.
Is it sleazy? I mean, but it's interesting. There's an interesting morality question here. Am I being sleazy? Because with High Tide, I could cast cantrips and stuff for 50 minutes. I could find all 4 times. So I could play my whole deck and then Spiral and then shuffle in and play my whole deck again. Yeah. Spiral, shuffle in and play my whole deck. I could go forever.
You even loop Cunning Wishes.
You can't do that anymore. You actually can't loop Cunning Wishes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. But
new wish
it's
rolls,
okay. I can still take 50 minutes. It's fine. I will find a way to make this take forever. All right.
There's really no reason to loop Cunning Wishes, but...
John turn 1 brainstorms Josh Snider with a Stirring Wildwood, I believe, right? Yeah. But anyway, so do you believe that's like a sleazy sort of thing to do?
I would not do it.
Okay. Would you fault, or would it change your opinion of another player if you found that someone else was doing that?
I don't think so. I don't think that's bad. I'm friends with people who definitely try to verbally trick opponents, and I don't let that affect my friendship, even though I disagree with it to a certain extent.
Ponderland Preordain, getting the 2 things he didn't like off the Ponder off the top of the deck. He's probably both going to the bottom. Maybe 1 to the top, if one of them was good.
Just because somebody doesn't have the same political opinions as me doesn't mean I'm not going to be friends with them.
Right. If he keeps both on the top, I don't really like... Okay, top-bottom is fine. I don't really like... Yeah, that's fine. Remember, with these cantrips, when you're playing in a slow matchup, greed is key, Don't be like, ponder, keep on top, ponder again, if at all possible. All right, here's Thalia for Josh Snider. Thalia you can combo through a Thalia. That's possible. It is hard, but actually possible.
You usually need 6 lands. 2 High Tides is still enough to start it off.
1 is probably enough. 5 lands. Yeah, once you get your second High Tide, the Thalia won't matter. What you're gonna have to do is resolve 2 High Tides. So with 5 lands, you can go High Tide for 2. You get 3 lands left. Tap 1 for 2. High Tide again, and then actually you're still short on the Spiral. So it's rough. Josh will still need a follow-up clock though. Like a Knight of the Reliquary here would be ideal, which I think he has. I think he has 2 of them.
But he doesn't have any lands in his graveyard, so he's going to need to.
He can't
juice them a little bit.
That's fine.
He'll probably spend 1 turn juicing.
1 turn, 1 turn he'll activate land, get fetch land, discard fetch land, get land, play Knight, go broke.
Yeah.
End step, he's going to brainstorm for 2. So John Hiner here is looking for a snap for the Thalia. And the thing is even with Thalia in play, John can just sit here, make a 4th land drop, say go. Josh can take a turn, he can be like, end step, snap your Thalia, untap, kill you. That's the beauty of High Tide, is that you just don't have to do anything.
You can just sit there, I really like combo decks like that, where you just wait until the last turn before you're dead, and that's when you do it.
Yeah. The best part about High Tide is the 2 things you need to play it are you need to be clear and you need to be patient. Are you dead this turn? No. Okay, don't combo. Swinging for 4? Okay, sure. I guess actually... Nah, I don't like the swing for 4 there. I was thinking about...
The math is just wrong on that.
No, I had to think about it, though. Another Knight. Pass the turn. No, I want my Knights to be bigger than Grey Ogre. Especially because if he has another 2-drop, he could play Knight and additional 2-drop. He's going to end step, wipe away the Thalia. All right, that means it's game time. It's going to come back down next turn, untap. Here we go. Time for kill. It's got to... Even with the stacking of the lands there, that's something. John, be deliberate. like, don't just have a mess of lands here. Play fetch, John at 19.
Set a 19 here.
All right, 5 lands, getting ready to go. All right. Those of you playing along at home, we're gonna count through. We're gonna count through this guy. 5th land.
We've all got our pen
the
and
only reason
pads
he's,
ready.
The only reason he's cracking it is because this is the turn. All right, High Tide's resolved. One spell. Okay, Josh. Now, does Josh have mind? Is he playing around Mind Break Trap? Yes or no? Do we have Mind Break Traps in Josh Snider's list? We have Surgical Extraction, which matters.
That
One
does matter.
Surgical. That's about it. And he has Canonists, but those didn't, obviously aren't relevant now. So no. Feed cast. Second spell is what was it? Sorry.
Is that another High Tide?
Why
Looks
is-
like it was another High Tide.
Why has he tapped 2 lands for it then? I missed a spell in there. My apologies.
Did he Merchant Scroll? For
Yeah,
one?
Scroll for Tide. Okay, so Scroll for Tide is the second land. The third land with 1 floating is the High Tide.
Oh, no, he only casts 1 High Tide. And then he casts
Okay.
Intuition. So he casts 1 High Tide. Then he tapped 2 lands, went up to 4 blue. So he has 1 blue floating, and he Intuitions.
All right, and he's going to get his High Tide surgically extracted here. Oftentimes against a deck packing Extraction, players will put 1 High Tide in the sideboard to Cunning Wish for. Even if he hasn't done that, well, actually, it's interesting. Here's where Candelabra versus Snap is pretty relevant. If he hadn't done that, I would say, when I've had my High Tides extracted and just all my islands make 2, between Turnabouts and Candlesticks, I don't find it to be a problem. What it does mean is you have to combo out using Brain Freeze. Probably Blue Sun's out of the picture. So yeah, this is in response to Intuition. Yes, High Tide, Intuition, 1 blue floating.
1 blue floating, Storm count at 3.
Yeah, he's extracting the High Tide. Storm count is at 4 due to, right? High Tide, Surgical. No, it's at 3. Okay, because the Surgical is the 3rd spell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the problem is like he's going to have to combo off on 2 lands, which is fine. It means a couple of things.
He does have the Turnabout and the Spiral. This is fine.
It gives him more chance to fizzle. Probably to get there, he's going to have to resolve 2 or 3 spirals.
He can't easy mode it. He's going to have to be careful.
Yeah, he'll be careful. He won't get to he doesn't play Explore either, so he has to be pretty patient. He's going to have to, after his spiral, he'll have to aggressively find the next spiral. But eventually, he's just on the Brain Freeze plan, nothing more. Like where Josh would have an Emrakul in his deck, John probably couldn't win right now.
Yeah, I think John here, I would...
He's going to get Snap. I like that. Make more mana. Awesome. Snap, Turnabout. He just wants mana. This is exactly what he should be finding.
Yeah, I would go triple Turnabout.
Snap, Turnabout, Snap. I think he wants Snap. That's fine. Turnabout's probably better. Turnabout is better, but he doesn't have... Yeah.
How many copies of Turnabout is he playing?
I believe it's 3. So...
Okay, and he has one in his hand already,
Yeah.
so yeah, he can't. That's fine. That's completely reasonable.
Yeah, Josh should give him a Snap. 3rd spell of the turn. 1 blue mana floating for John Hiner. We're almost at time in the round. I imagine these players have some large extension. I'm not sure what it is. The interesting thing is, as long as they get to start game 3, it doesn't take very many turns for John to win. John just needs to combo off quickly enough. All right, he's given a Snap. He's come off. Yeah. So 5 blue in his mana pool.
Mm-hmm.
Turnabout is the.
Turnabout puts him down to 1 blue.
He hasn't
and
actually
cool.
cast it yet.
Oh, he has not cast it yet. Okay.
Yeah, he's being deliberate. I like this. He's going to his notepad a bunch. Cool. Turnabout goes down to 1 blue mana, 4th spell of the turn.
Takes us now to 11 blue mana.
A potential of 11, but not 11.
Yep, up to 3 blue mana.
3 blue.
Probably using 2 of it to cast Snap.
And he's not going to be able to untap 2 lands there. He should be floating another one. Snap is the 5th spell of the turn.
He has to be careful to hold priority.
With a Snap on the stack. Yes, he can hold priority and tap a land. That's fine. He's saying that. With that on the stack.
Yes.
Okay. Make 4 mana.
Making 4 mana.
So that will put him up to 5 because he has cast Snap.
Correct.
5 with a Snap on the stack. All right. Knight is returned. 2 lands are untapped. 5 mana, 5 spells. 2, 4, 6, 8 brings him up to 13 blue mana. And they have a 10-minute time extension, and they're going to need all 10 of it.
Looks like it.
Going to cast Time Spiral, right?
Yep.
All right, Time Spiral is the 6th spell of the turn. It will cost him 6 blue mana. He has 7 blue mana floating. Will untap all 5 of his lands.
And again, 13 goes to 7.
Oh, is he getting extracted here again in response to Spiral? No. All right. Make sure the High Tides are out of his deck, correct? Yes.
Yes, we need to make sure the High Tides do not get shuffled in.
What are the white cards over to the side? That's paper. That's probably paper. Yeah, that's paper. I hope. I hope they're like, oh, that's my hand. Oh, no. That's my hand from last game. No, they're not. That's paper. All right. John all but on auto mode. Josh has some surgical extractions. It
John
did
needs
not
to play
matter.
quickly now.
Because of surgical extraction, John needs to make sure that his first Cunning Wish he casts goes for Brain Freeze. He can't let his wishes get extracted, because then he cannot win, because the Blue Sun Zenith option is really no longer open to him. Other than that, I don't think there's too many ways for him. You know, his only other risk is fizzling. All right, 7 here, almost certain to hit. 7, 1 tide. So islands make 2, spells are 6, blue mana's at 7.
Joshua, flipping to another surgical extraction.
It'd be good. I mean, like I said before, all it actually means is that his first wish will have to... Okay, up to 11 blue mana. He's going to snap. Snap brings him down to 9 blue mana, and that is the 7th spell of the turn.
Legacy Open players, that is time in the round.
Surprise
And the player
time in the
finishes
round
turn,
there.
taking additional 5 turns.
All right, so we're on a 10-minute time extension. It's currently 4:30 here, so about 4:40 they'll be out of time. I mean, all they have to do is start the 3rd game.
Yeah, if they start the 3rd game, then it's possible for John.
Yeah.
Players in the
Although he will be
Preordained
on the draw, so he'll only get 2 turns.
Judges
8.
are waiting for you.
Preordained is the 8th spell of the turn, and John with a Force of Will in his hand pretty much makes this academic. He's just got to go quick. That's all. I know. I don't think he's going to, because there's too much. All right, to 10 blue mana, and he'll brainstorm.
Yeah, now he's just
9 blue,
going
9 blue, 9th spell. Draws 3. You're gonna have to put 2 of those back. All right, which one does he put? He's got to put 2 back. Does he put 2 of them back?
You gotta put 2 back.
Deciding which ones to go put back, I think. Okay, there we go. Yes. All right, good. 1. And 2. All right, cool. Cool. A little worrying here. Okay. Preordain. 10th spell, 8 mana left. Shipping both to bottom and drawing. Remember, he just needs to play like a couple cantrips of Cunning Wish and a Brain Freeze. That's all he needs more to win now.
Attention Magic players.
He needs to find the Cunning Wish, but he has Merchant Scroll and such too.
If you'd like to try to get
Back up
into
to
a
10.
draft
Okay,
or
so
a standard
4.
win-up,
So now he's up to
this would be an
16
awesome
mana.
time for you to step right up and do so. Again, players, we're going to be closing silence at the beginning.
The bigger
of round
thing is I see a
7.
lot of players with High Tide
If
not
you haven't
comboing
signed
when
up
they...
yet and
Okay,
like
he's
to do
just
so,
going
please make your way
to
over to the
spiral.
silence area
He should
right
be
now.
playing more spells first, but that's fine. Spiral will take him down to 10 mana. It's the 11th spell of the turn. Untaps 6 lands. He's going to try to Surgical in response. That's the 12th spell. John should force this. Builds up Storm and doesn't want anything to get forced, anything to get extracted, really. Yeah, Josh putting on top to indicate how the stack is working here. Yeah, Gentle
Good
Force.
to be clear with that.
Yep. Well, that was a Flusterstorm, right? Okay, so 13 spells now played. Flusterstorm counters that.
9 mana.
Yeah, all John needs is Cunning Wish or Merchant Scroll. That's it. And then should immediately just go for the kill, get the next game started. One of the dangers of High Tide is, like, you can just keep going forever. So a lot of people, if they get cold feet, like, oh gosh, I just want to be sure. We'll just keep going and going and going. And then they'll, like, draw themselves in a lot of rounds.
Yeah,
I've seen that happen a lot.
Remember to multiply by 3.
Yeah, it's, because right now we're close to, we're at 4 Storm of 12. So, Cunning Wish
We're at
Spiral,
13 now,
that's
right?
we're at 13. So, like, Cunning Wish into Brain Freeze is only 45 cards. Josh will have a deck. He has to get up to 51 cards to mill him. So he's going to have to get up to 17. But, like, a lot of times I see players, instead of doing that, they'll instead storm their way up to 30. And I'll feel like, you don't need to do that. I mean, it's okay. There's no harm in doing it, except that you might draw yourself, especially when you're down a game here. Be aware.
It's 49, so yeah, it's so easy. Like,
yeah, it's 49, so he needs to get up to 51. It's the highest multiple, 3.
yeah.
All right. So Hiner in the searching for a Cunning Wish. All right, Brainstorm, 14th spell, 9 blue, 9. 8 went up to 16.
Flusterstorm.
8.
Yeah. It's confusing. Not gonna lie.
I get it wrong, and I play the deck. I mean, the difference between 8 and 9 here is really...
Yeah, it's negligible.
Matter. Okay, 7 for Ponder. That will make any Cunning Wish now lethal. So, at this point, sometimes I will ask my opponent, is it okay if I stop tracking Storm? Storm is lethal at this point. May I stop tracking it? You can ask him that. Right? If I find the Brain Freeze, you're dead.
If I find the Brain Freeze, I guarantee it's
your deck.
More than your deck.
Yeah. Josh Snider with a 49-card deck. Highest multiple 3 above that. Or lowest multiple 3 above that is 51. So that's a Storm of 17. Yep, 16th spell. Brainstorm down to 6 mana. And the GRV really getting back to John Hiner. This would be match here. And I don't think he's gonna. I think they're gonna draw. They now have about 4 minutes left in the round. John's got to be quicker. All right, shuffle, and he's looking for the Cunning Wish. It's down to 5 mana. It's fine. Yeah, still has a zillion mana.
And
Storm's irrelevant. Storm is big. He's right big next to Storm.
I just put an infinity sign.
He's like, Storm is. I'm going to get you. So, all right. All he needs is a Merchant Scroll or a Cunning Wish. Does he have one of those yet? No? That seemed hard to believe. I really find it hard to believe that he doesn't have one of them yet, actually. If so, Brainstorm is... Yeah, I mean, are we just building more Storm? I hope not. You gotta be quick, man. You don't want to draw.
I don't think there's anything wrong that he's done thus far. I think he's actually been very clean this time around.
Yep. No, it's fine. This is more strategic. You gotta be fast. You're down a game and time's already been called. You're in game 2. Like, get there. Just Cunning Wish. That's it, right?
Yep, he wins.
Just do it.
Do it. Show your opponent.
Say Cunning Wish. I'm gonna get this Brain Freeze. You've seen it before. Bam, get you. I think what he's doing is he's storming to 20. It's like, rather than like count your cards in deck and realize what the lethal number is, I'll just make it 20. It's easy enough. I know that it's under 20.
That's fair. I
mean, it's more than you need, but sure, it's quick enough. Cunning Wish. Show me the Brain Freeze. Brain Freeze you. Do it. Bam. All right, game 3. Start shuffling. That's what I would do. All right. Don't shuffle that Brain Freeze into your deck. Oh god, don't shuffle that Brain Freeze into your deck. Can we say the Brain Freeze is in his deck?
Yeah, can we somehow tell him that?
I don't know if are we allowed to do that?
I don't know if we're allowed to do that.
No, I don't think so. I really hope. Oh my, I hope they do not deal out hands. Please don't. Oh gosh. I do think that, yeah, I'm not sure if as spectators we're allowed to do that.
A card getting accidentally shuffled into somebody's deck, that's not outside assistance.
Okay,
I think,
stop.
yeah.
Stop them quickly.
Oh my gosh.
David Gentry to the side events area, please. David
It'd be funny if they made an
Gentry
announcement
to the
that
side
was
events area,
like,
please. Also,
don't
we have
shuffle
free
that
spots
brain.
for
Don't
any
stop!
draft of the
Stop, oh god,
If
stop!
you'd like to join in that event, please
this-
make your way over to the side events
GRVs
area.
are John's worst enemy here.
Well, I don't know. It's hard to tell camera-wise. I can't tell if he's de-sideboarding. You know. Like, yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. If he did shuffle it in, I don't know if he went and got it.
Yeah, I mean, I've asked before to not have high tide on camera, so I will
Continue
like to reiterate that to the eye in the sky that high
not-
tide on camera is normally a terrible thing.
We're not sure if he maybe boarded it out. Okay. I think. Yeah, so many things going on. A wish board. Just practice the deck to the point where you can do what it's doing. It's a great deck. It's loads of fun. If you like that kind of deck, I like that kind of deck. I like pretending like I'm playing against someone who's not there. I like ignoring what my opponent's doing. My deck's fun. I just want
Like
to play it the whole
solitaire.
time. All right, John, we're just checking what's going on here. All right. Just so many moving pieces. Okay. John's flashing us the camera, 2 thumbs up. He waited, he pile shuffled his deck, waited, saw that he had 61 cards and caught his own brain freeze. Which is why you should pile shuffle. It's why it's awesome. I think he's had to stand up to catch himself and be like, oh my gosh, stop doing it.
Oh my gosh.
All right, good job, John. We salute you. Now get this. This is supposed to be one of your best matchups. Go get it. I don't know where they're at with time, with regards to time in the round. What John needs to do is play as fast as possible through the first 3 turns of the game, and then he can slow it back down. Because then he can win within. Remember he's trying to win on turn 4. So okay, if John wants to win on turn 4, he needs to make sure that he gets all the way through turn 2, and then he can win in the 5 extra turns. That's fine. Both players. I don't know. Joshua Snider's going away.
It's an interesting match.
Not sure. Did he actually present? Do we know? Did he present the 61 card deck, or did he catch himself before presenting it? I think those are 2 big distinctions. If he presented the 61 card deck, that's another game loss.
That is another game loss.
That's really heartbreaking. Both these games have been not close high tide win. All right, and I think they had talked, and it looks like John conceded the match. So Joshua's going to win 2-1. Did they have time called there, or okay? So John presented